Our lesson today is Exodus chapter 17, verses 1 through 7. The whole Israelite community broke camp and set out from the Sin desert to continue their journey as the Lord commanded. They set up their camp in Rephidim, but there was no water for the people to drink. The people argued with Moses and said, "Give us water to drink." Moses said to them, "Why are you arguing with me? Why are you testing the Lord?" But the people were very thirsty for water there, and they complained to Moses, "Why did you bring us out of Egypt to kill us, our children, and our livestock with thirst?" So Moses cried out to the Lord, "What should I do with this people? They're getting ready to stone me." The Lord said to Moses, "Go on ahead of the people, and take some of Israel's elders with you. Take in your hand the shepherd's rod that you used to strike the Nile River, and go. I'll be standing there in front of you on the rock of Horeb. Hit the rock, water will come out of it, and the people will be able to drink." Moses did so while Israel's elders watched. He called the place Massah and Meribah, because the Israelites argued with and tested the Lord, asking, "Is the Lord really with us or not?" And then from the New Testament, John chapter 4, verses 11 through 14. The woman said to him, "Sir, you don't have a bucket, and the well is deep. Where would you get this living water? You aren't greater than our father Jacob, are you? He gave this well to us, and he drank from it himself, as did his sons and his livestock." Jesus answered, "Everyone who drinks this water will be thirsty again, but whoever drinks from the water that I will give will never be thirsty again. The water that I give will become, in those who drink it, a spring of water that bubbles up into eternal life."
The church is a gift from God, but some assembly required. How about that? We're still working on it, aren't we? The church. It is a gift from God. We are a gift from God to each other because we are the church. Today I want to talk about relationships, building friendships, reminding each other and ourselves of what God has done in our lives. And I don't know, I just was struck by, I talked with my brother this weekend, and he's a pastor over at Minot, the one brother is anyway, and he had some people that wanted him to take some things down to the Standing Rock Nation down there. They're demonstrating against taking the pipeline across the Missouri River, and it's not on their land, but it's God's land, isn't it? And if you know anything about pipelines, they always leak. They always leak. There are hundreds of leaks in northwest North Dakota every year. They always leak. But he said they've been down there. He said the first trip down there, he said that he realized they've been there since April. And they've got a school set up, and they've got a medical tent set up, and they've got a special needs tent. I mean, it's like a city. 180 nations have come together. And I'm not talking just Indian nations. Nations from Europe are represented there. It's important to take the gifts that we have from God seriously. Stewardship is what it's called. And it's something that I don't think about enough. I don't know about you, but the thing is, I want to go to this next slide. We talked about last week, and I had this running up here and downstairs, so you may have noticed it, maybe not, as we did the food for kids. But we talked about telling people why we serve. It's where we fall short. Telling people, and I go back to, I mentioned it last week, the story about my mom. She came to me saying, Paul, you're a pastor now, answer my question. Do I have to tell people when I'm doing things for them that I'm doing it because Christ first loved me? And being a new pastor, I kind of hemmed and hawed, kind of like I'm doing right now, but, why not tell somebody? So this is what I had running. Service. We need to communicate why we give of ourselves. Packaging these meals is a free gift from your friends at Bethlehem United Methodist Church. We give freely because God's love is always free and is available all the time to everyone, including you. We don't want any of God's children to go hungry. May your souls be filled as well as we give this gift together. This is our way of sharing God's love with you and showing others God's love through our actions. Why not say something simple like one of those statements? 2,000 years ago, God thought we were ready. God sent Jesus to this earth, and when he came, a giant step forward. He's the fulfillment of the law of our hearts, not just the law written down on paper. And what did Jesus bring us? Let me read a little bit from John, the beginning of John. What came into being through the Word was life. And the life was the light for all people. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness does not extinguish the light. The light came to his own people, and his own people didn't welcome him. And now we're talking about grace. But those who did welcome him, the ones that were not under the law, that were not part of the in crowd, those who believed in his name, he authorized to become God's children, born not from blood again, nor from human desires or passions, but born from God. This is grace, folks. This is love that we don't deserve, that I don't deserve. And I know it. And yet we have received it. 2,000 years ago, it came in a special way. Now, I had a hard time figuring out what to title this sermon, and I came up with, getting to know the people behind the need, because that's really what we're talking about, Get to know the people that we're serving or working with. Get to know them. And I thought about it, and charity, a lot of organizations do charity. Chamber of Commerce does charity. But when we put it together, charity plus relationships, that is genuine mission. That's what the church is about. To make connections with people. To do that, you're going to have to look at things differently. Right? We are. And I'm not going to wear these because I can't really see you very well. These belong to Kim, so if Kim's here, go ahead and pick them up afterwards. We used to live in a Christocentric world here in the United States. And most of us here today have become Christian churchgoers because our parents were Christian churchgoers. It's a simple fact. It's not that way anymore. I gave you the stats last week, but just for you that weren't here, I'll give you one statistic. If you're in the 80-year-old age group, you know how many of you 80-year-olds are still connected to the church? 65%. I thought for sure it would be higher than that, didn't you? And it goes down from there, generation by generation. We need to share how God has touched my heart, because I'm a better person today than I would have been without Christ. I'm not perfect, but it makes a difference. We need to talk about taking the step from serving people to being with people. And when I think of that, I think so much about the meals we serve. I think the second Saturday breakfast and the fourth Friday dinner, it's wonderful that you serve. It absolutely is. But try to get out of the kitchen a little bit. Try to get over there and say hi to those folks and get their names. I'm not very good at getting their names because I forget. But it's important that we make connections. That's what I want to talk about today. It's a perfect way to make connections. Invite somebody to go to lunch with you maybe, or do something out of the ordinary with people. It comes down to, are we living with an inward focus or an outward focus? I've been on a lot of mission trips and haven't been on too many lately, but as I thought back about the mission trips I've been on, I thought about the Henderson settlement trip, which is down there in Kentucky, not too far from Redbird. Some of you have been to Redbird. And we got there. We went down with 2 great big bus loads of youth and adults, 100 people, and we got down there, and we found out that they didn't have any way to get us around to people's houses. And so with 100 people, just a few of us got out to work in the community. The rest of us worked on needs right there on the mission base, And we got to meet some people, but not very many. We built a wonderful concrete patio. That was part of the job I was doing. I'm not too good at concrete work, but when you do it by hand, I can handle the shovel. In New Orleans, I went down and I worked on a church where people were going to stay, mission teams were going to stay, and I worked and cleaned up the gym and where the sleeping rooms. But I didn't meet a lot of people. I was just getting ready for other people to meet people. On the Rosebud Reservation in South Dakota, worked on a floor for a poor family, and it was at Christmas time, and we were there, and you know what? The 2 days we went to work on their floor, nobody was home. We did not meet a soul in that house. We got the floor done. Another time we went and built a ramp there on the same reservation. The father of the family was paralyzed, and we got to meet, but we didn't really get to know him too well. Go up to Spirit Lake Reservation in North Dakota. You've been there a lot of times with youth groups, because in North and South Dakota, what they do with the Christmas shoeboxes, they don't use the same organization as you folks do, but they make up these individual boxes and take them to the reservation. And so we'd take the youth group up and we'd organize the boxes and for them to give out at the party a little later on. And it's just a wonderful time, and you get to meet a few of the people in the community, but you don't make very many relationships. The Rosebud Reservation, we went back there, and you know what? We got to lead a vacation Bible school. It was so much fun. I love building a house, but it's important for us to get in the dirt and play with the kids too, right? To build relationships. That's what it's all about. I've got some pictures of the idea of being task-oriented or relationship-oriented. And these are a couple pictures of mission trips I've been on. And a lot of the pictures are of Debbie. I put them in because you know Debbie. But I did make other relationships on these trips besides with Debbie. But here's one in Jamaica where we're teaching kids how to sew. And I've shared this with you, but afterwards I just thought, oh, we'll teach them how to sew, you know. The teacher came up and said, you just gave them a life, what's it called? Well, they're going to be able to get a job because of this. And I thought, oh my goodness, I never even thought of it. This is us building a window because they had a hurricane go through and this church was just totally wiped out, lost the roof, everything inside was soaked and windows broken, and this guy in the middle is building the window for us. This is the guy that actually ran the whole show. He was, still recovering from an accident, but he had somebody else had come in and put in this new floor, and we did all the woodwork. I mean, it was just amazing. They loved this dark color on the woodwork, but it had been rain-soaked. It was totally wiped out. And this one I just put in because this is one of my favorite pictures. We were walking along one day, and I saw a flower blooming. And this is it. That's the most beautiful flower I think I've ever seen. I don't know why. 2 days later, it was gone. I was just there at the right time to see it, you know? Just amazing. And then another trip that was a real relationship building one was Haiti. And this lady we got to know, and she took us down the road to her home, and I mean, this is one of the wider spots of the road to get to her home. You know, it's not a road. It's you go through the thistles and everything to get to her house, and then this is where she lived, and we gave her some gifts. We didn't want to, weren't supposed to, but you kind of do those things, don't you? This is me with some of the guys I worked with putting together the solar ovens in Haiti. And we built, I really liked the guy with the pink hat on. And the kids were just amazing. This guy, just what a smile. He loved working on the solar ovens. And we got done so fast because we had so much help. We had a whole extra day in Haiti. So, and we built these relationships with these people. And they said, you want to go to the beach? Go, yeah, me. I want to go to the beach. Yeah. And so we spent a day at the beach, and these kids took us, and it was just fantastic. These three little boys were just amazing. They took us down to this fisherman's hut, and he had this beach access. It was just fantastic. Here he is, fixing a net, mending a fishing net. And this is the way he lived. I just thought, oh man, I'll bet that house was not there after the hurricane. I'll bet he had to rebuild the whole thing. But look at that, we're just building relationships, It makes a world of difference. If I went back now, those kids would be all grown up, wouldn't they? But I'll bet they remember that day because they didn't usually get in the water. They were kind of afraid of the water. Their parents taught them to be afraid. But we had a blast. And then on the way back, I got to see how they graze cows. I don't know if you can tell from back there, but the cows are on a leash right there. They wrap a noose around the horns and stake them down. Isn't that something? And I just was impressed because way in the back there on that cow, there's a little egret or something right on the back of the cow. I've never seen stuff like that before. But it's just amazing, the fun that you can have when you build relationships. It's all about love. And this is a quote about love, definition of love. It's in a book called The Church and Its Purpose. And so when I read this, I want you to think more about the church than about your personal relationships. But this definition applies to my closest relationships. It really does. By love, we mean at least these attributes and actions. Rejoicing in the presence of the beloved, gratitude, reverence, and loyalty toward him. And it's an old book, so everything is him. Love is rejoicing over the existence of the beloved one. It is the desire that he be rather than not be. It's longing for his presence when he is absent. It is happiness in the thought of him. It is profound satisfaction over everything that makes him great and glorious. Love is gratitude, thankfulness for the existence of the beloved. It is the happy acceptance of everything that he gives without the jealous feeling that the self ought to be able to do as much. It's a gratitude that doesn't seek equality. Love is reverence. It keeps its distance even as it draws near. It does not seek to absorb the other in the self or want to be absorbed by it. It rejoices in the otherness of the other. It desires to be the beloved too, and I'll go to the next page. Let's see, where are we? Okay, right there, if you're following along. It desires the beloved to be what he is and does not seek to refashion him into a replica of the self or to make him a means to the self's advancement. In all such love, there is an element of holy fear, which is not a form of flight, but rather a deep respect for the otherness of the beloved. And to finish up, love is loyalty. It is the willingness to let the self be destroyed rather than the other cease to be. It is the commitment of the self by self-binding will to make the other great. It is loyalty too, to the other's cause, to his loyalty. Love is what we're talking about here. We love because God first loved us. Whether it be close personal relationships or, as I said, this book is titled The Church and Its Purpose. Love is what it's all about. And Lou shared her story of how she made a connection. And in a minute, I'm going to let you guys share your stories during the offering, because that's coming up, so ushers, you can get ready. But I want to show you a video here. I hope it's the next thing. Oh, I forgot to mention that the biggest communication problem is we don't listen to understand, we listen to reply. And I'll bet you, because the Standing Rock thing is such an issue now, I'll bet some of you, as I was talking, were not listening, but listening to reply. Because it is a weird situation. It is. But that's the way we listen, don't we? Really. So let me give you a little sneak peek of this video. Hopefully it will be able to come through. But this guy is a pizza delivery guy. And he was called in early to make a delivery. I think somebody set him up because they knew of some needs that he had. So let's take a look at that.
So I just feel the need to share this with everybody. So I work for a pizza place, obviously. Pretty much all of you know this. And we don't open until 12 o'clock today, but I was asked to come in a little bit early for a delivery. So I came in, and right as I got in, we loaded up my car with the food, and I took it. And then when I got to this delivery, it's to this church. And they came out to my car, and they're like, take one pizza out of the 7 or 8 pizzas that they ordered, and they're like, bring it up to the pastor on stage. And I was like all like weirded out, like, why? Like, this is so weird. And the most amazing thing happened. This whole church came up and gave me over $700 for a tip. It's just truly amazing. I've been having such a hard time lately. Just struggling to stay clean and everything. And I'm just trying to get my life back. And it just really, truly just amazes me that people that don't even know me just wanted to help me out that much. Blessed.
The church. I'll bet one person knew that guy's name. But it allowed the church to be the church. And what a step forward for him. To know that we care. This is what it's all about. Making relationships, not expecting anything in return. If it goes somewhere, it goes somewhere. If it doesn't, then at least some person has received God's grace through you. So please, I forgot to make a challenge last week. I'd made it to the class, but can you this week try to get 3 people's names that you don't have their names? Just make a connection. Somebody that maybe you see all the time, like the mail lady here at the church. I think maybe at one point I knew her name was Molly, but I didn't know it until this week again. And we had a great talk. So please, allow God's grace to flow through you. And you know what? That living water that goes, it's going to come right back to you. I guarantee it.